What's up, everybody? Will here from Sky Ultimate, and today I'm going to teach you how to throw a backhand. Let's get into it. This video is going to teach you everything you need to know to throw a great backhand in Ultimate Frisbee, from your grip to your wrist and arm motion and down to your legs, so that you can create separation and get some extra power on your throw. This video is going to be a little bit different from my last video on how to throw a flick. Since most people already know generally how to throw a backhand, I'm going to focus on the common mistakes that people make when they're learning, so that you can stop forming bad habits, instead form good habits, and get the technique down right. So starting off with the grip. When you hold out your hand, you'll notice you have a little groove in your hand right here between your thumb and your palm. You want to stick the disc right down that groove. Your thumb should kind of come forward along the flight rings, these little grooves in the disc, and the rest of your hand should kind of wrap around. You can kind of put this index finger a little bit up the ring of the disc if this makes it feel like a little bit more stable in your hands. Some people will put their fingers on the edge of the disc. This can be helpful when you're first learning, but it will stop you from getting a lot of extra power and spin on the disc. So as you become a more advanced thrower, this will come back to bite you, and it's going to be a habit you will have to break. Moving on to the wrist motion that you want. When you follow through with the disc, you want it to be a straight snap from back, a loaded wrist, straight snap forward, and release. I tend to want to release with my fingers down, coming down off the disc like that, so that your fingers don't get caught around the edge of the disc and cause an errant throw. For your shoulders and legs on this throw, it kind of depends on how far you want to throw. For a shorter throw, I tend to step straight out to the side and keep myself with a nice stable base. Unless you're trying to really get around your defender, you don't need to step too far, but you take a nice cross step with the same leg that you're throwing with. You don't need a big shoulder turn, again, because you're not throwing that far. And you just want a nice, short, and straight. Again, notice how I'm keeping the disc in a straight line and then releasing it out in front of me. A lot of people have this misconception that a backhand kind of wraps around your body, and this is going to cause a lot of problems for you, because when the disc is not traveling in a straight line and it's kind of in a curved path, it's going to be a lot harder to release it and have it go straight. When you want to start throwing a little bit farther, it can be helpful to take steps out in front of you to get your momentum going forward. And you have to remember that power is generated from rotation on the backhand, more so than it is from the flick. So when you really want to wind up for a backhand, I'll stand off to the side, you really want to make sure that you're turning your shoulders as far as possible, putting that disc out far behind you. I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but out far behind you, and then turning and pulling the disc through, rather than, again, wrapping it around. So if I want to throw it farther, I'm turning, rotating my whole body, pulling that disc through, and then releasing it out in front of me. Later in this video, I'm going to do a form breakdown between my form and a really, really high level player, just like I did in the last video. So we can compare my form versus his and see exactly the intricacies that make his throw so good. When you go to practice your throws, backhand or flick, the key thing is to be very focused on what you want. When you're throwing a backhand, again, you want to make sure you're going in a straight line. Practice that and make sure you get a very nice and clean release. As you become a more advanced thrower, it can be helpful, especially on the backhand side, to practice throwing at different angles. Since most people already have a decent amount of strength and power when you're releasing your wrist like this, as compared to with a flick like that, it can be easier to start throwing at an OI, or outside in angle, or practicing throwing at an inside out angle. And by practicing throwing at different angles, you can fine-tune your release, and this will actually make you better at throwing the disc flat, because it'll give you more control over what edge you throw it at. Okay, so now we are going to be comparing my form against Rowan McDonnell, one of the best throwers in the world for a very long time. So you can see my throwing form over here, or basically just demonstrating a backhand intended to go about 20-25 yards. So just to start out with, we start in a similar place. We both start by turning and stepping over. right away you kind of notice I take my left hand off the disc pretty quickly. He's actually going to keep both hands on the disc until he's ready to bring the disc forward through the throw. So that's one thing I can definitely improve on, since keeping two hands on the disc throughout the process of the throw helps to stabilize the disc until you're actually ready to release it. So as you can kind of see, my right hand is just like hanging out here with the disc. So definitely something I could work on. Another thing you'll notice is he actually kind of keeps it a lot lower than I do. I kind of bring my arm up before throwing it, whereas he keeps his hands fairly low throughout the process of the release. And he releases it around his hip level, whereas I'm releasing it still about like shoulder to stomach level. So that's another thing you see much better throwers than myself doing, is releasing the disc a little bit lower. So another thing I have to work on. But through actually the point of release, it's very similar. You can see I kind of rotate my shoulders around here. So I rotate my shoulders around, and then once I get to the point of the throw, I then move my wrist around in kind of this little two-step process of moving my shoulders around and then snapping out from my elbow. And Rowan, you can see, does the same thing. He's going to get his shoulders through, and once he gets to pretty much the point at which his elbow is in position to throw, you'll see it actually doesn't move too much throughout the full process of the throw. So you rotate through first with the shoulder and pull the disc through your body, and then you snap out from the elbow to actually give it some power. So definitely a couple things I have to work on in my form, but you can see by comparing my form to Rowan's form, I've gained a couple things that I can work on, but I'm still fairly sure that mostly my throw is fairly technically sound at the point of release, which is of course the most important part of the throw in Ultimate. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video and learn more about how to throw a backhand. If you haven't seen my other video about how to throw flick, go check that out in the top right corner. And yeah, I've got plenty more videos coming out on how to improve in all different areas of Ultimate. So if you're a beginning player or anybody looking to improve at Ultimate Frisbee and reach that next level, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button too. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.